Hello, my name is Sean Ennis, and welcome to Mixed and Mastered, the show that gives you an inside look into the minds responsible for creating the music for your favorite songs. Yes, the producers. Today I'm joined by a special guest. Can you say your name, where you're from, and how you got your start in music?
Of course I can. Hey, my name is Alchemy Beats. I'm from Panama City Beach, Florida. And the way I got my start in music is just, I remember being 12, 13 years old and hearing all these songs on the radio. And I remember wondering how they made the instrumentals. So I just kind of started delving into that on my own, and here I am today.
Yeah, I mean, same as me, how I initially got my start in music was as a producer as well, and that's something that I was always fascinated with. I was never really a lyricist. I was just always more fascinated with the music behind the songs.
Yeah, exactly. I was the same way. I was never a lyricist either. Although when I was growing up, before I was fully dedicated to being a producer, I did play in a few local metal bands around my city.
And what instruments did you play?
I mainly played the bass guitar, and sometimes I would do a background vocal of anything. But normally it would be I don't know if you listen to metal at all, but it's like the guttural growl type stuff. But that's about as far as the lyric part went.
And how does having that experience playing bass guitar, how has that helped or affected your work in production?
I'd say a lot of producers should learn an instrument just so you get that effect. Okay, so you listen to some beats and you know how they sound they just sound so artificial, they sound so machine made, like there's no humanity to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd say playing bass and actually having to manually come up with different rhythms and occasionally different melodies for it, I think that gives my beats more of a lively feel, more of a musicianship feel, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. I think musicians that can play an instrument and combine that with the DAWs and the digital programming, I think it definitely adds depth to their work.
Yeah, definitely, because, and I mean, don't get me wrong, some genres, they do benefit a lot from the machinic feel, EDM and house music and stuff like that. So, excuse me. So, but I feel like if you're going to be rapping or singing or over anything like that, over a really staticky beat, it just doesn't feel like there's any life to it, I think that really affects people's enjoyments of the song, at least in my opinion.
Now, when you first started making beats, what sort of equipment were you using?
Oh, man. I remember, I think it was back in about 2008, 2009, that I had this 12-inch HP notebook laptop with half a gig of RAM in it. That was really about the only piece of equipment I had. A demo version of FL Studio. That's what I started on.
And I always think it's interesting to, talk about that journey of how people got started, because we've only recently entered into this digital age of music where technology has moved forward at such a fast pace that it's common to have home recording studios, and there's tons of Fruity Loops, Reason, Pro Tools, all these different things available, and now MIDI keyboards that are really designed and focused on production. But 10, 15 years ago, it was a completely different music landscape.
Oh yeah, man. I remember going down to Guitar Center, and I remember the first interface I ever had was one of those, I think they were the $50 M-Audio shit boxes that they sold. That was the first interface I ever had. But nowadays, 15 years later, it's just literally, you can make a hit song with nothing but like one of the mics, one of the interfaces, and soundproofing. Like, there's no limit to it anymore, and I think that's fantastic.
So what are you using nowadays for your music?
Well, I'm still using the good old FL Studio. That's the one I know best. But I do also use Pro Tools. Say if I'm recording an artist or I got to do a really big mix down. Right now, I'm rocking with the Akai MPC 23 drum pad. It's a little bit old school, but I feel it has a lot more. Like, it's not as fragile as the other ones, and I can get a lot bigger sound out of it. Like if I'm doing like an old, dirtier, like boom bap style track. You know what I mean?
And what is it that you like about the Akai specifically?
Well, the one thing I do love about it is just, first of all, just the way it's built. It's nice. It's really heavy. It's very, very sturdy. And all the pads on here are actually weighted a lot heavier, so you do have to put a little more force behind it, which I'm a heavy-handed guy anyway, so. And also, I do love the way they do the beat repeat, because you have a couple different options on there. You can play it half, twice as quick, or normal. And then you can actually adjust all your mixing levels to the sliders on the pad. So it's like an all-in-one machine for everything that I do, and that's what I love. That's what I love about it.
And what do you like about FL Studio?
I love the workflow of it. Like, everything is pretty laid out. You can find everything pretty quickly. I tried working with Ableton one time, and I don't know, it just didn't do it for me. Like, I felt like I had to search a lot more to find what I wanted. So FL Studio just kind of lays it all out like a roadmap, and that's why I use it.
Yeah, I think with anything that usability is really important.
Oh, definitely, especially when you gotta put out these things pretty quickly. You know what I mean? Like somebody might need a custom beat fully from scratch by tomorrow. So the faster you can get it, the faster you can make your money, the faster you can get the song done. You know what I mean?
So you can make a completed song in a day?
The beat would take most of the day. If they've already got their lyrics written down, yeah, it can be recorded in a day. But really the beat making process and the recording process aren't the lengthy parts. Usually it's the mix and the master. I guarantee you, any mainstream industry album has at least taken 3 to 4 months to mix all the songs.
And what is it about that mixing and mastering process that is so time consuming?
Well, there's a lot of facets to it. A lot of people think that the mixing process is just, leveling it all out, making sure everything sounds good, like snare and the kick are really high up there, they cut through, all that kind of stuff. But you can ask these, but it really does require a lot more than that. It's like you got to worry about the pink and white noise levels, which can vary pretty much at any frequency. You got to worry about how it sounds through the monitor, how it sounds through computer speakers, how it sounds in the car, how it sounds in pretty much all these different environments. Because if it sounds awesome on the monitors, but you go out to your car and you try to bump it and you can't hear anything and the bass is so weak, it's going to kill your enjoyment. You know what I mean? People want the consistency. So that's the main part that takes so long to mix and master a song.
And what is it that you like about using Pro Tools?
Kind of for the same reasons I really prefer FL Studio over other DAWs is because everything in Pro Tools is just like laid out for you. It's super easy to install the plugins, again, which is another reason I love FL Studio. Because loading plugins into Ableton and Cubase and all that just takes way too long, in my opinion. Pro Tools is exactly like that. You can import really quickly. It has a really quick export time, which other DAWs really don't, at least in my opinion. Pro Tools, again, it's it's simplistic. That's what I mainly look for. Like, it's simple, it's laid out, it doesn't try to be all fancy, you know what I mean?
Now let's talk about some of the songs that you've produced that you're really proud of.
Alright. I remember this one time I think it was about 6 months ago, a dude ordered a custom beat for me, and I mainly do like, excuse me. I mainly do like dark trap and like dark urban music, but he wanted a boom bap style. But it was kind of like one of those melancholy, darker styles, so I figured it'd be totally fun. He named the song One of the Greats. His name is Psychoetry. Definitely look him up. He's got like 6 albums out already. And he was talking about how the struggle he's going through and how music's the only thing that's been there for him. And you can call me a sucker if you want, but I can really relate to that message because when I was growing up, I really didn't have anybody. And me and him were on the same wavelength with that, so I'm definitely proud of that one. One of the Greats by Psychoetry. It's an awesome track. You should definitely go check it out.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. You got another song you'd like to talk about?
There's a couple that stood out to me. I remember this one man from the UK. He was like 18 or 19. He hit me up. He bought actually another boom bap beat for me. And he titled it The Game of Thrones. He basically rapped about the Game of Thrones stuff, and I'm a huge sci-fi and fantasy nerd, so that's one I'm really proud to have.
That's really unique and interesting song concept.
Yeah, I know, right?
And now, how did you connect with this artist from the UK?
In all honesty, it was like just a random freak thing through SoundCloud, which is actually something I'm going to talk about. With the advent of the internet, you don't have to really do much effort to reach these people anymore. It can be something as simple as sending a DM or leaving a comment. You know what I mean? So mainly through, I think him specifically was through SoundCloud. I think he reached out to me first. But then I've connected with artists from Uganda, Africa, all the continents, Egypt, even a couple people who I didn't even know they had internet out there were near the Nile River. So, I mean, there's really no limit to who you can connect to anymore. To be thousands of miles away, and again, we're all connected. So it's just a really cool concept to me.
Yeah, I agree. I really think we're living in one of the best times for independent and unsigned musicians in terms of the reach that they have and also the access that, like you mentioned, people all across the world have to their music. It wasn't always the case in the cassette or CD days of music where independent and unsigned musicians could get their music all across the world.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely was not like that whatsoever. Like, I remember my dad telling me, my dad was like the old school heavy metalhead. Excuse me. And, he always had all these cassettes from like Death, Poison, Black and Throne, Black Sabbath even. And I actually got to talk to a lot of older people from that generation who were really heavily into music, played in bands, that type of stuff. And they said, in all honesty, they had no idea how they were even going to get to people over there, or even people outside of their own city. They had to literally hustle up flyers, promotional material, wristband, blah, 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 all that, and send it all across the country, pretty much blindsided if it'll even get there or not. But nowadays, with the click of a button, you can instantly send your music from California to Florida to Japan to Hawaii, anywhere, man. It's just a really good time to be alive for pretty much any industry. It's never been easier to reach your customer base.
Definitely. Now let me ask you, what makes you want to work with a particular artist?
Ooh, that's a good question. Here's basically what I tell people who reach out to me for advice. They're like, how do I sell a first beat? How do I do this? What I usually tell artists on how to get noticed a little bit, even if you only have like 500 people following you, you can definitely get some high engagement just out of that. But here's what I tell them. Consistency is the most important thing. Like, if you put out one really good song, but then the rest of them sound like they were recorded on your freaking cell phone, you know what I mean? Over YouTube static beats and stuff like that, that makes me kind of go, ugh, this guy doesn't really seem like he's in it all the way, you know? I mean, love him or hate this guy, but he's kind of a joke in the industry at this point. It's like Russ, when he was coming up, you know, he dropped a song a week, fully mixed, fully mastered, paid for a beat, and recorded, written, everything like that. And that kind of dedication is what can have producers like me and can get you noticed by bigger producers and bigger acts. So that's probably the best move you can make in your career. Like, I'm not telling you to go take out a bank loan every week to get all this stuff done. Please use what you have. I guarantee you, out of what kind of money you have, even if you only have like $50, I'm sure there's some really good up-and-coming engineer who will mix your song for like $15. And I'm sure there's some beat that you like that you can get a lease on it for like $15. And you probably already have a studio in your home, so you don't really have to pay for a studio time, but I guarantee you somebody will do an hour of studio time for like $15 in your area. Just look around a little bit, and I guarantee you'll start seeing a lot more traction.
How can producers promote their work?
Oh, that's a good question. The biggest thing that I can tell producers is, and I'm just going to be 100% honest right here, a lot of producers, they're very, very talented, do not get me wrong, but a lot of them in person, they're just kind of, I don't know, kind of uninteresting when they talk. Or all they do is just upload beat video after beat video after beat video with, you know, new beat, type, blah, blah, whatever. And then if you look at, like, my Instagram, it's like, I have my beats in the background of different photos I've taken with different messages and different captions. And don't get me wrong, I've been the guy who just posted beat video after beat video and wonder why it wasn't working. Trust me, it's a lot of trial and error, man. But that's probably the best way you can promote your content is by putting out actual content, something that's interesting, something that the artist can go, hey, I want to work with this guy. Like, give out advice to people, give out, if you want to target producers to make them better, put out tips on how to mix your bass, put out tips on how to make your snare pop through, put out this, put out that, put out different marketing tactics, because that's what I do all over my social media. Or I talk about like men and women who have reinvented the world, which is what my brand is all about. I've talked about, you know, people who have conquered huge struggles and that type of thing, so people can really relate with that, and they associate me with that message. Do you get what I'm saying? People need something to hook them onto you, or else they're just going to go right by and just go to the next guy.
And talk to me about your name, Alchemy Beats.
Actually, this is the funniest story. Before I was into rap in general, because I was always the metalhead kid till I was like 13, 14, to where I started getting into both. But I was the nature kid. I always was mixing crazy stuff together just to see what would happen. I was the chemist kid. You know what I mean? I loved science. I still do to this day. I love physics and all that. And then my nickname when I was 12 was the Alchemist. This was before I even knew who the Alchemist producer was. And then I came up with Alchemy Beats maybe when I was 15 in the back of my head, and then I figured out the producer named the Alchemist, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Now, what's a common mistake that you hear producers making that when you hear it, you're like, man, if they would have just done this or tweaked this a little bit, it really would have brought up the quality of their track?
Probably the worst thing I hear, and I'm guilty of this occasionally too, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I even go to myself and I'm like, damn it, man. Like, but a lot of producers, it's either one of two things. They either try way too hard to sound like another producer, like, because I can understand artist type beats, but I really can't understand making a beat in the same style as another producer, like, you know, with all of their sounds in it, because that just doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm like, damn it, come on, man. That's just what drives me insane, because, like, it's like you're not even trying to have any kind of individuality at this point. Which, trust me, there's a lot of ways you can be different. It's all little things. Just find that little bitty thing that makes you different and hang on to that. But producers are starting so hard to sound like Zaytoven, Timbaland, Big Head, or, you know, just that type of stuff. The second thing that drives me crazy is when there's just way too much going on in the beat. You know, like the melodies are all insane and the drums are everywhere. Which, don't get me wrong, it can sound awesome, but nobody's really going to be able to hear themselves on that. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's no vocal pocket for it, and that's what drives me insane.
Can you share your social media links and also where people can go to purchase and listen to your music?
Oh, of course. Literally all of my information is on my website. It's just alchemybeats.com. You'll be able to find my Instagram, my Facebook pages, and my personal one on there too, if anybody cares enough to do that. And then you can also, my beat store's linked and everything, so yeah, it's alchemybeats.com.
Is there anything else you'd like to promote or share?
If I may, I do have something to say to everybody. Just remember this one little thing as you're going through each day. There's somebody out there just like you. They don't like where they are in life, and trust me, I was one of those people at one time. But as I grew older, I started to see that I'm in control of my own life, and I can get to where I want to be, no matter what. And I just want all of you to remember that same thing. No matter where you are in life, it doesn't matter. I don't care if you're 80 years old and you want to try to start doing anything. Just go ahead and do it. You never know what will happen if you have the dedication and you're willing to spend the money to get it off the ground. You know what I mean?
Very well said. Well, I'd like to thank my guests for joining me today on Mixed and Mastered. As always, write your comments below. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share this video.